He was. In fact, they were having a hug. We're not going to do it tonight, are we, Blight?
Actually, I'm pretty disappointed that Dennis is not here, but obviously he's burnt me something shocking. So, well, that's footy.
We've got Dennis in a moment. Blighty, do coaches have bad days or do players have bad matches? Now, you put McLeod on Farmer a couple of weeks ago and everyone reckoned you had a bad day. Now, Terry Wallace put Libba on McLeod and he put Rowan Smith on Robin. Did those two blokes play badly or did Wallace have a bad one, do you reckon?
Oh, look, I've been accused of that so many times. Look, I've never known a coach actually that wants to go in there and lose the game of footy. The logic of that just doesn't make sense, does it? So, you try things as a coach, and they're the decisions you live by, I suppose. And obviously, with the number of coaches that have gone this year, that's what you go by. And
4 is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. That's my
25%.
My humble opinion. But you don't do it to lose. You do it, and you go through it so methodically sometimes, and you think, yes, that's right. Perhaps you convince yourself. But the thing I always find interesting is that at the end of the game, everyone says you're wrong. But conversely, if you do well, they say, gee, that was a great move. So that's what you live and die by.
You've got a very good imagination. Did you believe for one moment that Rowan Smith would line up on Matthew Robin and Tony Liberatore would line up on Andrew McLeod?
We talked about Liberatore.
Did you?
And we thought perhaps Leon Cameron on
a similar type of player.
Yeah, as an obvious who's played centre half back before. So no, it was a surprise, but not a great surprise.
On that point, Blight, it's amazing that things that don't get tried during a game, supporters and critics after the game will say that would have worked. The hypothetical, they should have done this.
Good on you, you two blokes. Stick together now that you're back in coaching.
Back on your side of the fence now, Blighty.
Malcolm, sorry, just before, look, I know that the point you make is valid, but the only criticism for myself that I had no problem with either of the moves that were tried. Was just I was amazed that the Western Bulldogs stuck with Liberatore and McLeod.
Yeah, look, you could have said that against Melbourne too. There was 2 kicks that just floated over Andrew McLeod's head, and Andrew had a wonderful year at halfback flank last year, and then we moved him in the middle in the last year. So his best form for the Adelaide Footy Club has been on a halfback flank, and Farmer played there. And ironically, the last couple of times he's played on him, Farmer actually got taken off the ground, I think, from memory. That's not always great, but so, there was a bit of history in that. And Liberatore's done a million jobs. Gee whiz.
Can I ask you, this is a tough one. I hope it's a tough one. Did you single Modra and Robin out at half-time in your address to the players against Melbourne when both of them were struggling in front of the other players?
Actually, 3 weeks is a long time in footy, Bruce. Look, there's lots of things you try and do at half-time. Now, the answer to that could be yes or no. Off the top of my head, both of them probably weren't playing well, so I may have said, well, I probably did say something, but they weren't the only ones. The team wasn't playing well. Probably I wasn't coaching well, I don't know.
You couldn't drop both of them, but you've been pretty savage on Modra, haven't you?
Tony just hasn't quite come back like he would have liked, I'm sure, and like I guess I didn't like, and so you make those decisions, but I feel for the lad more than I do for all the other things that have happened. So hopefully, he can get himself back in order now.
And Blighty, after that thrashing by Melbourne in the qualifying final, how would you summarise your attitude sort of post-game and build up to the Sydney game the following week?
I think I said at the time, I'm glad we didn't waste a good game on a loss, on a win, which we'd done throughout the year. So, look, it was one of those that, Melbourne was just far too good. They just weren't even, we weren't even close to being in the hunt. They got away to a good start. I thought we'd tighten them up in the second quarter, and then they had a great third quarter. So the game was gone, and North had won on the Friday night. So 4th and 5th historically's got through. So it was really just going around again. So, we had to look at a couple of things.
Did you draw on the 89 experience at all at Geelong when you had a very bad loss first up and went all the way to playing what turned out to be a classic grand final?
Oh, yes, there's no doubt that's true. That happened to me. But, to pass that on to players that haven't actually seen that or been through it is always difficult. But, yes, that's true. I certainly did.
And so have you 5 grand finals and 8 seasons of coaching? It's big.
Yeah, it's probably a win-loss record that a lot of people in the country are happy for, and a lot are not.
Yeah. Blighty, why didn't you play in the 74 grand final?
I actually had glandular fever, Michael, and I missed the last 6 games. So I tried to get back, and almost, it was one of those, and obviously they made the call at the time, which was right.
Blighty, how would you rate the psychology? Obviously, North Premiers in 96, you guys last year, the same two teams going again, you know, in 98.
Yeah, look, I really don't know, Lee. I've never been in this position before. Have you ever you? Can you give us a hand?
No idea. I'd love to be, however.
It's a heavyweight championship, though, I feel, don't you? It's a heavyweight championship between the two great clubs of the last couple of years.
Yeah, look, you probably sit in your shoes too often, and one of the things that I know that, I said after the game on the weekend that it's actually been a real struggle this year. Last year sort of happened, whereas this year we sort of had a plan, and nothing ever went right, and I'm sure Dennis could say that at some stage during the year too. So to get there, there's just there is an absolute litany of stories to be told, and I think the Adelaide Football Club's one of those this year that to be there again is quite remarkable, really.
After Carlton and Fremantle, just wondering, Lee, you did it in 1990. I mean, holding the trophy aloft as a coach with your players. I mean, Dennis has done it in 96. You did it last year. I mean, is it relief? Is it pure joy? I mean, you get it different from different people. What was it like for you?
I was absolutely bloody wrapped.
There you are.
Yeah.
With
and I even hid my face, so there was no photos, right? Put the hand up the wrong way. I didn't even know how to do it. So I didn't know what was going on. But, no, look, it was. I mean, everyone said it was a relief, but I was absolutely wrapped. I mean, I really was, for all that the club had been through, and perhaps going back to Adelaide and hometown. Look, I don't know. I would have been wrapped. I think it'd hold it up anywhere.
We must ask, North looks very settled. Dennis said there were 3 or 4 other players. You do have a couple of injury worries. Peter Vardy, I'm not sure about McLeod's status, or even Jarman's. Can you fill us in a bit?
Oh, no, we've actually struggled for the latter half of the year trying to get blokes across the line, and it's not that they're not fit by any means, because I wouldn't play them. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but there's been some painkillers and some doctors' help and some methodical ways we go through it, and I wouldn't have thought that we've actually played a poor game other than Melbourne, and for different reasons. Melbourne played very well because of fitness, and I think they'll all get across the line. I mean, we'll do competitive training tomorrow night, Wednesday night training, just for a short while, so we have to get through that. I actually don't count teams until Wednesday night, and then we sit down with it.
Just fine, Lee. Dennis is well and truly tucked away in bed. He gets early nights. You've got to have a surprise for him. Just let us in on it. You've got to. You know, Mike, Lee, he's got to have one up his sleeve, doesn't he?
I reckon I'm a cloud in the back pocket. This will happen this week.
Have you got one, Blighty?
I'm pretty honest, you know that. and I'll tell you off camera.
Malcolm, great to have you.
Sure,
thanks for joining us. I mean,
I'm glad Dennis was here.
We're not going to have a hug, but we've got to find someone on the couch because Lee's leaving. So if you want to retire as a premiership coach after this week and come back, you're welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, boys.
See you, Blighty. Terrific, Blighty. And